You know, the name of this episode really needs to be Why Matthew Mercer is a Voice Acting God, because he put on an absolute show this session, and we have to talk about it. The episode begins with the party having breakfast with Lord Eric's Esteros. They fill him in on all the details of the previous night, and there is also discussion of this mysterious figure Emoth Cad talked about, this mother. And then the party begins to discuss their next move. And that's when the Critical Role production team unveils their map view. This is something I think that Critical Role has been missing in the previous few campaigns, where there hasn't been a dedicated map view. Sometimes it's a little hard to follow along what they're talking about when all they have is that physical map in front of them. So this was just delightful. And eventually the party decides it's time to get out of Dodge. The heat in Drusar is just too much, and they need to take some time for things to cool off. So they begin to leave Drusar, only to then be caught by the Green Seekers. Or I suppose not caught, but confronted by them. These Sherlock Holmes-esque detectives, one a gnome, one a half-orc, Ollie and Gus, were the highlight of the episode for me. They both feel like fully realized three-dimensional characters, and we'll get into more of that three-dimensionality later on. But I think their intelligence, their lines of questioning really brings out the best in all the players. And also, I'm just a sucker for competent NPCs. It's so easy in a D&D campaign to have NPCs feel lesser than the player characters. The Green Seekers, though, are true professionals. They know about the Shade Creepers, they know about a cover-up with the Moon Tower, they've put together that Bell's Hells has been around all of this. They're not stupid. And you know what? I really appreciate that. And it takes a bit of poking and prodding from both sides, but eventually they kind of agree to work together. Although the Green Seekers were a little bit hesitant, as Bell's Hells revealed that they are working with Lord Esteros. Now, I kind of implicitly trust the Green Seekers after this episode, so I don't think that they're going to do anything negative on that front. But if they were to ever get captured, maybe even interrogated themselves, that might be a problem. But at the end of the day, the party teams up with the Green Seekers. The goal is to capture basically Emoth Cad, one of the corrupted members of the Mahan houses, so that they can show the other Mahan houses that this is indeed a problem. To do this, they discuss the deep tunnels that go underneath all the spires and seek to potentially find out where the Shade Creeper lair is. Therefore, everyone takes a trip to the Underrush Mining Operation Facility. And then we get Matthew Mercer showing off his role-playing chops as Gus, one of the Green Seekers, meets his ex-lover, Ogdis. And the difficulty of this entire encounter, I think, is off the charts. Matt plays two very believable characters having a deep role-playing moment. He brings so much backstory and so much complexity into this one conversation. We just met Gus, we just met the Green Seekers, and in that moment we meet Ogdis. But their entire backstory and relationship is fleshed out perfectly. And in this interaction, Matt constantly goes back and forth between Gus and Ogdis. And not only is it just a great story moment, but he also brings in other characters as well. Fresh Cut Grass gets to be a therapist robot. This particular encounter and interaction draws in all the other characters and leads to player character development. Additionally, we get information about the mine, how it's been closed lately, and there are no reports why. Matt also sneaks into the conversation that the party probably needs to go talk to Shotan Bruo, I think that's how you pronounce his name, in order to get more information on what's been happening in the mines. He's overlaying 4 or 5 layers of complexity and goals in this one interaction, while basically just speaking to himself. It was just a role-playing masterclass, and honestly, I want to show so many DMs I know this particular moment. Because I think a big pitfall for many DMs, new and veteran, is the process of interweaving role-playing with story, especially in a way that doesn't make it feel like just an exposition dump. Matt had information that he needed to give to the party, and he did it in such a masterful way. And at the end, we walk away knowing so much more about not only Gus, but Ogdis, and also I think Fresh Cut Grass and Fern as well. But after this interaction, the party goes to the foreman, Shotan. In a great moment after first meeting Shotan, Marisha rolls a nat 20 on an intimidation check and knocks Shotan out. This gives the party free reign to rummage through the office and find a large amount of platinum that Shotan has on them. Shotan comes to and Gus begins to interrogate him, and I must say, the Green Seekers are just a bit terrifying. Like, when we first meet them, we don't understand, like, these are high-level characters, quote-unquote. They've been doing their jobs for about 20 years. But with a detect thoughts, the party finds out that it is the Treshies who have bought the mine and have paid off Shotan to basically keep people out. And it is a hefty weekly sum. So, after linking the mines to the Treshies, the party obviously gets on an elevator and goes down into the mines. And of course, these mines are absolutely swarming with shade creepers. This leads to combat, and the party actually does fairly well. Orem took the biggest brunt of damage, but in total, the party makes it through the shade creeper fight relatively unscathed. This is also thanks to Fresh Cut Grass using his Happy Feel Good Time spell, or as we usually call it, Aura of Vitality. And I must say that at the beginning of this campaign, I thought Ashton's Barbarian subclass was on the brink of being overpowered. I still think it is incredibly powerful, but it's not to that overpowered point anymore, I think, because it is filled with randomness, and Taliesin was just rolling incredibly high. But now I'm starting to think that perhaps this homebrew therapist cleric is a lot stronger than I originally gave it credit for. Its channel divinities and spells and everything just works together so well. It's just really good at keeping the party healed and safe, which honestly, look, if you're trying to play a really overpowered character in D&D 5th edition, you don't go for damage. You don't go for, stealth, like with a rogue. You're going for a support character. Support characters in 5th edition are just subtly powerful. They are party amplifiers, and usually in a combat, you're going to target the damage dealers, but in reality, you should really be targeting those support characters because they are making those damage dealers or those mages, the rogues, so much more effective. And it feels like Fresh Cut Grass is just the pinnacle of this. And the way Sam is playing Fresh Cut Grass just feels so natural. It really is just a perfect fit of class and race and then role player. But moving on, Chetney goes off on his own, sneaking through the mines like he usually does. And he finds kind of the core of the Shade Creeper operation. There in this flesh cocoon, I suppose, is a distinctly not human Emoth Cade. They apparently don't have genitalia, they have these weird breathing holes on their back, they are fully aberrant. Their entire physiology is being warped down there in the caves. Chetney sneaks back to the party and goes over the plan to kidnap Emoth Cade. Gus goes invisible, and then they begin to sneak forward. However, Emoth Cade smelled Chetney, at least we can assume, and the surprise ambush is flipped on its head. It is the Shade Creepers who are now attacking the party. But that's not the worst thing. In a room farther down the line, Emoth Cade is there with a 60-foot nightmare slug. A strange four-armed creature emerges out of it, which appears to be this crown of like bone on top of the head. Emoth Cade refers to this thing as Mother. I don't know if this is a fight that the party can win, but we'll see. Right now, the action economy is not on the side of Bell's Hells. They are relatively split as well and are not at full strength. They had enough trouble dealing with Emoth Cade, so I don't know how a fight would go with Emoth Cade, dozens of Shade Creepers, plus this Mother. It's likely that this slug is going to just keep on spawning Shade Creepers. It might be that the strategy is just knock out Emoth Cade and get the heck out of there, because it really doesn't seem that winnable. But then again, it is just a giant slug. How bad could it be? Man, those words might haunt me later. But what do you guys think? What are the party's chances in this upcoming battle next session. And if you need a video to tie over until the next episode, I would suggest this one right here, and thank you for entering the dungeon.